Okay, good evening. We're back with Ezra chapter 5. At that time, the prophets Haggai and Zechariah, son of Iddo, prophesied in the name of the God of Israel to the Jews in Judea and Jerusalem. Zerubbabel, son of Shiltil, and Jeshua, son of Jehozadak, responded by beginning the task of rebuilding the temple of God in Jerusalem, and the prophets of God were with them and helped them. But Tantina, governor of the province west of the Euphrates, and Sherethobenzana and their colleagues soon arrived in Jerusalem and asked, "Who gave you permission to rebuild this temple and restore this structure?" They also asked for the list of names of all the people who were working on the temple. But because their God was watching over them, the leaders of the Jews were not prevented from building until a report was sent to Darius, and he returned his decision. Tentenai's letter to King Darius. This is the letter that Tentenai, the governor, Shetharar Benzana, and the other officers or officials of the province west of the Euphrates River sent to King Darius. Greetings to King Darius. We wish to inform you that we went to the construction site of the temple of the great God in the province of Judea. It is being rebuilt with specifically prepared stones, and timber is being laid in its walls. The work is going forward with great energy and success. We asked the leaders who gave you permission to rebuild this temple and restore this structure, and we demanded their names so that we could tell you who the leaders were. This was the answer. We are the servants of God of heaven and earth, and we are rebuilding the temple that was built here many years ago by a great king of Israel. But because our ancestors angered the God of heaven, he abandoned them to King Nebuchadnezzar of Babylon, who destroyed this temple and exiled the people to Babylonia. However, King Cyrus of Babylon, during the first year of his reign, issued a decree that the temple of God should be rebuilt. King Cyrus returned the gold and silver utensils that Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple in in Jerusalem and had placed the temple of Babylon. These items were taken from that temple and delivered into safekeeping of a man named Sheshbazzar, whom King Cyrus appointed as the governor of Judea. The king instructed him to return the utensils to their place in Jerusalem and to rebuild the temple of God there as it had been done. So this Sheshbazzar came and laid the foundations of the temple of God in... Excuse me while I turn the page. In Jerusalem. The people have been working on it ever since, so though it is not yet completed. So now, if it pleases the king, we request that you search in the royal archives of Babylon to discover whether King Cyrus ever issued a decree to rebuild God's temple in Jerusalem, and then let the king send us his decision in this matter. Ezra chapter 6. Darius approves the rebuilding. So King Darius issued orders that a search be made in the Babylonian archives where treasures were stored. But it was at the fortress of Ecbatana in the province of Media that a scroll was found, and this is what it said. Memorandum. In the first year of King Cyrus's reign, a decree was sent out concerning the temple of God at Jerusalem. It must be rebuilt on the site where Jews used to offer their sacrifices, retaining the original foundations. Its height width 90 feet, and its width will be 90 feet. Every 3 layers of specifically prepared stones will be toppered by a layer of timber. All expenses will be paid by the royal treasury, and the gold and silver utensils, which were taken to Babylon by Nebuchadnezzar from the temple of the God in Jerusalem, will be taken back to Jerusalem and be put into God's temple as they were before. So King Darius sent this message to Tantanai, the governor of the province west of the Euphrates River, to Sethar Bozale, and to your colleagues and their officials west of the Euphrates. Stay away from there. Do not disturb the construction of the temple of God. Let it be rebuilt on its former site, and do not hinder the governor of Judea and the leaders of the Jews in their work. Moreover, I hereby decree that you are to help these leaders of the Jews as they rebuild the temple of God. You must pay the full construction cost without delay, for my taxes collected in your province, so that the work will not be discontinued. Give the priests in Jerusalem whatever is needed in the way of young bulls, rams, lambs, for the burnt offerings presented to the God of heaven. Without fail, provide them with the wheat, salt, wine, and olive oil that they need each day. Then they will be able to offer acceptable sacrifices to the God of heaven and pray for me and my sons. Those who violate this decree in any way will have a beam pulled from their house. Oh, then they will be tied to it. Oh, and flogged, and their house will be reduced to a pile of rubble. May the God who has chosen the city of Jerusalem as the place to honor his name destroy any king or nation that violates this command and destroy this temple. I, Darius, have issued this decree. Let it be obeyed with all diligence. The temple's dedication. Tantane, governor of the province west of the Euphrates River, and Seth-Bozane and their colleagues complied at once with the command of King Darius. So the Jewish leaders continued their work, and they were greatly encouraged by the preaching of the prophets Haggai and Zechariah, son of Iddo. The temple was finally finished, and as it had been commanded by the God of Israel and decreed by Cyrus, Darius, and Artaxerxes, the kings of Persia. The temple was completed on March 12th, during the 6th year of King Darius' reign. The temple of God was then dedicated with great joy by the people of Israel, the priests and the Levites and the rest of the people who had returned from exile. During the dedication ceremony for the temple of God, 100 young bulls, 200 rams, and 400 lambs were sacrificed, and 12 male goats were presented as a sin offering for the 12 tribes of Israel. Then the priests and Levites were divided into their various divisions to serve at the temple of God in Jerusalem, following all the instructions recorded in the book of Moses. Celebration of Passover. On April 21st, the returned exiles celebrated Passover. The priests and Levites had purified themselves and were ceremonially clean, so they slaughtered the Passover lamb for all the returned exiles, for the other priests, and for themselves. The Passover meal was eaten by the people of Israel who had returned from exile, and by the others in the land who had turned from their immoral customs to worship the Lord, the God of Israel. They ate the Passover meal and celebrated the festival of unleavened bread for 7 days. There was great joy throughout the land because the Lord had changed the attitude of the king of Assyria toward them, so that he helped them to rebuild the temple of God, the God of Israel. Okay, and with that, I will be back later with chapter 7.